But I want to go to our poll of the day. This is the Metropolitan Moving and Storage poll of the day on Grant and Danny. We do it every single day on the Fan. We're asking you, what do you make of the loud booing of Bryce Harper yesterday at Nats Park, 7 years after he left D.C. for the Phillies? And this is actually way closer than I would have thought with the polling right now. 56% of respondents are saying keep booing him, and 44% are saying it's getting tired. It's been 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of things need to be said. Number one, for those of you that weren't plugged in or paying attention or weren't at the ballpark, the booing of Bryce yesterday might have been the loudest that it's ever been. I was at the first game when he came back with Philadelphia
in 2019
to play Washington. It was the first week of the season. I don't think it was opening day. I think it was like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series, like right after that.
Scherzer was pitching, though, I remember.
Scherzer against Harper. Yeah. And what I remember most about that was I think Trey Turner broke his finger in that game. It was cold. He got hit by a pitch. It was like second or third game, fourth game of the season or something. I want to say maybe they went somewhere for a few days and then came back. Maybe all the details aren't right. But I know Turner breaks his finger on the day where Harper's there for the first time with the Phillies, and he ended up hitting a home run against some donk like Jeremy Hellickson in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, someone could look that up, but I think it was Hellickson. Doesn't matter. He got booed loudly. But because it was a weeknight game in week one and it was cold, there were not 40,000 people in the stands. So even that night, I'm telling you, the booing for him was not as loud as it was yesterday. And if so facto, then I believe yesterday was the loudest he's ever been booed at Nationals Park, because it was a sellout, because there was 40,000 people, because there haven't really been that all that many times since he left. And have they opened with the Phillies on opening day? It used to be the Mets all the time. I remember that. Have they had the Phillies in town for an opening day? I don't think they have.
Maybe at some point over the years. But so the game we were talking about, Tuesday, April 2nd, they were in New York with the Mets. And then Tuesday they had their home opener, which was Scherzer against the Phillies. They eventually lost that game 8-2.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Turner breaks his finger.
Yeah.
And there were 26,000 people there or whatever. I mean, I remember getting tickets. It was raining, by the way. It was freezing
cold. Miserable.
Me and my mom went, and there was nobody at the ballpark for a home opener. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing any of this up, Danny,
mm-hmm.
I think there's a chance that yesterday, because of the weather, because it was opening day, because it was sold out, because there was 40,000 people, probably the loudest he's been booed yet. It was just interesting to me that 7 years later, the passion has not subsided. It has not waned, and fans still hate his guts. Brings me to my next point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling anybody how to fan, okay? Your fandom is your own. It's your prerogative. I'm just making an observation of something I don't understand. I don't get it this many years in. I never really got it from day one, but I can play along. He went to the evil empire. He's going to be the face of their franchise. 7 years later, for a guy that wanted to come back here and made more of an attempt to come back here than a lot of the heroes that we deify because they won a World Series, to be booed the way that he is every single game feels like such little brother syndrome and like almost this jealousy from our fan base that he's not here and he's there, that it as a Nats fan, I'm like, ugh, this is just not a good look. I know I'm in the minority on this. I think most people love it. I will also say anybody being at Nats Park at this point in 2025, the year of our Lord, who's making any noise and who's engaged, I love you.
We're pro that.
You're part of the solution. You're not part of the problem. So if your noise is booing, but you're at Nats Park, God bless you. You're one of the good ones. You're one of the people that came by yesterday when we were set up in the left field concourse and dapped us up, and is a Nats fan who listens and knows about Bustin' Loose Baseball, our podcast. You are my guy or girl. I love you. But what I am wanting to talk about here, Danny, and ask is this poll question. I brought it up to you today. I know we've always felt differently about this, you and I. But is there ever a point where he doesn't get booed the same way? It's been 7 years. Mm-hmm. He's played here 20 times or more. I don't know. Probably actually
more than that. Probably
more
like 40, 60,
40
70,
sometimes.
80. I don't know.
He's homered in every single one of those games.
Seems like it.
After you guys booed him, which is even more embarrassing in a sense. Numbers approximate. But is it just perpetuity because he plays for the Phillies and left? Does anyone care about how it happened or the actual details? Does anyone remember any of them?
So I don't know if it's in perpetuity or not. I've never understood how you've never gotten this. It's not that he left. he wanted to come back thing is the thing we've always disagreed about. You've accepted the Scott Boras public narrative version of that. Here's what happened. The Nationals offered him a huge contract, whether you like the contract, didn't like the contract, whatever. Then they didn't hear from him for a month or 2 months. So here's what happened. They didn't hear from him for a month or 2 months. He did the Scott Boras playbook thing where he takes your offer and he leaves. When he couldn't get another offer and the Nationals moved on, signing Patrick Corbin in the interim, nobody's out there offering him what he wanted. So then he said, hey, that offer, is it still good? And that's when actually, no, we moved on because you didn't respond to us at all. But I really want to come back. And then he finally got what he wanted to with all these BS no trade clauses and not the no trade clause, the you can't leave clause or no flexibility, just so he set the record, and then claimed that he always wanted to be in Philadelphia.
Right.
He had a public appearance, an article where he said, quote, what does that do for me? What does that do for my family? In terms of a huge amount of money, hundreds of millions of dollars that he was offered. Again, he didn't like the way the deal was structured, which is his right.
So there's some details on that are important. He was offered a contract that he should not have signed.
Totally fine.
It was a $300 million contract, which was well less than he got at a year where the market completely cratered and was down.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually ended up getting a little bit screwed anyway, compared to several years later here where, it's booming. He went into the housing market at a time when the housing market was down as it is and still did better with no deferments. The whole point of free agency was he was going to go look around. They told him to do it. They said, okay, you go look, come back. Let's see. This is how free agency works, right?
Sure.
Is you go see what's out there. He did. He saw that he could do better, but he was willing to stay here on a worse contract for less to stay in Washington, D.C. at $300 million with those deferments. And then the option wasn't there anymore. But my point is just like Juan Soto won a World Series here. Very different. My favorite player ever. I'm not running down Juan Soto. I told you this last week. I bought a Juan Soto jersey. I'll probably never buy another baseball jersey again. He's my favorite player in the sport and maybe my favorite player of all time. Juan Soto got a $440 million record-breaking offer, right? That was signable. Now, he ended up several years later doing a lot better. You can make the case shouldn't have signed it. He never had one intention of staying here. Not one. Made it very clear behind the scenes. His agent made it very clear all along. It was always about getting the most money from whatever team. That was always the point. That was always the narrative with Bryce. It was not nearly as talked about behind the scenes. One of those two guys actually came back and tried to accept an offer for less than other teams were offering them and played for the Nationals. It's not Juan Soto. So it's just weird to me. Again, he won a World Series, and that is the difference between the two of those guys. I understand this. But they act like the Nationals offered Bryce Harper more money than the Phillies did to stay. He turned it down and said, I don't want to play for a loser. Went to Philadelphia and took a worse contract. That's not what happened. That's not the reality. You say I believe the Boras side of it or whatever. I've talked to people on the Boras side. I've talked to people on the Nats side. I think I've got a really good understanding from both sides of what happened. And piecing both sides together, best I can come up with is a free agency period played out.
Sure. And he did it this way, where
the normal way.
Well,
how players do it.
The Boras way. And which is you don't say anything for months to the team that offered you, that has business to attend to. We have to fill out a roster. We need to decide what we're doing. We have an offer that's lingering out there. Would you like to counter it? You had November 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, all the way until the March of the following year when he finally signed with Philadelphia because the offers weren't coming in. That's when he came crawling back. He'd publicly run down the offer, by the way, said, again, what does that do for my family? Has nothing to do with
talking about deferred money in real time.
Sure. What does that money do for my family? I'd say a lot. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. His attitude about it rubbed people the wrong way. Then once the offers didn't come, then he came crawling back. I think that's the most important critical part here. The Nationals had correctly moved on because you can't wait around for somebody or whatever.
We disagree a little bit on the idea that there was no communication with Bryce Harper for months. I don't believe that that's what I remember.
Well, it was through his agent, and that's the Boras playbook. So you say it's normal, that's what's normal. Boras takes the offers and says, thank you. And people start panicking and they offer more.
But I don't think to say that like for 3 months there was no talking with Bryce Harper at all. That's not how I remember it.
Well, what happened was he was offered in November. The Nationals kind of went, okay, well, we don't know what to do, so we're going to go.
Calls are just going all unanswered until January.
Who knows? Well, I don't know who talked to whom exactly what. If you do,
that's my point.
You could share that. The point was there were no counters, as far as we know. from Boris and Harper. If you're interested in staying, you could counter. You could say, here's what I would like. Here's what I'm getting from somewhere else.
I think that happened.
I don't think it did. We probably would have found out about it.
Well, you don't think that the agent or the player said, this is what I'm looking for?
No, because Scott Boris doesn't do that. He says, thank you, and takes the money, and takes the offer and goes away.
One way for every player all the time, I don't think is true.
That's the standard playbook for his huge market guys.
Playbook is true.
Well, you said it was standard for a lot of people, right?
Was it standard for Steven Strasburg when he re-signed for $175 million a couple
I think the player wanted something different.
Yeah, exactly right. So you do what the player wants.
Right. So Bryce got what he wanted, which was the most money ever, the most years, and that was what was important to him. So, and then he pretended that it was all about Philly. So when the offers weren't coming in, and that's why he signed so late, by the way. So they weren't coming in, and so now all of a sudden he comes back, hey, I want to be part of the Nationals before he finally got his Philadelphia offer. So this idea of he wanted to be here, he had a very funny way of showing it for months before the offers that he thought would be there didn't come in.
So there's another question, though, of how seriously did they want him back?
It's a very fair question.
And I think you and I both know that there's some debate about that.
100%.
Based on a lot of the people that we talked to at that time that were high ranking.
Absolutely. So their initial offer was just that, as far as I can tell, an initial offer. If you're really interested, you could negotiate that. That wasn't what happened. They took it, left, shopped it on the open market, used it as a beginning point for everybody else.
This is how it works. The whole Manny Machado signed at the same time. The $300 million contract he got from San Diego. That was the market. You're acting like he signed 9 months after everybody else or whatever. That's when all the business was getting done that year. I don't remember the specifics of why, if there was I don't know if that was the work stoppage year or it
wasn't specifically, but it was a late start. I remember that.
And Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, all those guys were signing late. So the point is, that's when the negotiating was happening. That's when he comes back now to negotiate, and they go, we're good, thanks.
Yeah,
which is fine.
We signed Patrick Corbin.
By the way, I didn't have any problem with moving on. My point is, it is just odd to me, the animus toward a guy who dragged this organization with a couple of other guys into a different era, into a different respectability, who made it fun to be a Nationals fan for years, who gave unbelievable memories year after year after year. The home run derby at Nats Park, probably a top 10 sporting event for me. When he won the home run derby wearing the DC stuff on his head.
With the American flag bat.
I think he was wearing a Fanatic thing on his head because he's always been Mr. Philly. Right? Very weird as a
Loves cheesesteaks and Liberty Bells.
If somebody were to say to me, I don't like Bryce Harper because he's a phony who pretends like he loves Philadelphia so much. Now, I would understand that. And I'm kind of asking, does the hatred come from? Is it just because he plays for the Phillies? Is it just because I had a couple of beers and people were booing and I thought it'd be fun? I guess I'm just wondering why. And you're giving me your answer, which is you feel personally slighted by how he handled free agency.
Yeah, that process played out where he thought all these huge offers were coming, that it was going to be this feeding frenzy. It didn't happen. He spent time running it down. I mean, they're leaking word out that it wasn't good. That's not what you do. That's not very classy.
He talked to Barry Svrluga once and gave an answer to a question that he didn't like. It wasn't like he was putting up billboards in DC to say.
He told ESPN the magazine, and so
then it wasn't Svrluga.
But the point is, but also through Boris and whoever else, if you had a lot of interest in staying, you could do something about it at any time. There could have been a lot more negotiating, and there wasn't. What he did was took their offer, said thanks very much.
Yeah,
went out and shopped himself around. Things didn't come back. He ran the offer down, and then pretended to be Mr. Philadelphia all along.
To me, and again, we're just disagreeing on this. I'm not saying I'm right. Everything's fine. You're explaining free agency and the business of sports, and you're taking it personally, and maybe that's the answer. And I get that. But fans can take stuff personally when guys leave, but when you wait 7 years to get a chance to go to a market, oftentimes the way you get the most possible money is to hit the market. If you just stay at the fan in perpetuity, I know you're not going to believe this, Danny, but you're probably not going to get big raises. But if you actually have a market and you can go out there and shop around, even if you want to stay with the fan, you go figure out what you're worth.
I understand all that, but you're conflating free agency, what Anthony Rendon did, with what Bryce Harper did. Like it's not just this standard thing. He wants another team. Well, if you do it from a 30,000-foot view and go, he wants another team. Okay, that's fine. Lots of guys have left. Lots of guys will leave again.
Sure.
It's this idea that they go, here's a pretty sizable offer, whether you like it or not. You think you could poke holes in it, that's fine. Do you want to begin this process? And he didn't. Ran it down in public, leaked out a bunch of things through various sources that it wasn't good, and this is way below what we need, used it as a jumping point, didn't get the offer that he wanted, came crawling back, then pretended to be Mr. Philadelphia. That's not just leaving in free agency. Guys leave in free agency all the time, and more will leave.
I would say that's like the I got hurt version of it. My version of it would be he got this offer as the floor offer of worst case scenario. I can accept this. Let me see what's out there. They say okay, like they do with every player in free agency every single time. The market that year, as we've both agreed, for whatever reason,
weird. It was weird.
It took months to start. So there was no, he can't come back 6 weeks later when the market hasn't started yet for the players of his caliber to tell you we're not there yet. So when he found out what he was worth and he had offers from other teams in hand, he said, you know what? I'm going to do better financially in Philly and in these other places. I'll come back to Washington for less money with this stupid contract with the deferred money, and I'll take it. And then it's not there. By the way, the Nats would win a World Series the next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably did the right thing, honestly, than the contract that he got from Philadelphia. But two ways to view the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think and maybe that's the answer. Maybe people felt personally slighted. The first time he came back, I get it. He's a Philadelphia Philly. It's going to be crazy. Now, I even then would have probably not been one of the ones booing. But sure, 7 years later, the guy's had so many great moments and turned into a player every bit as good as he was ever supposed to. No one should be able to live up to the hype of being on SI.
And he's done it, man.
When you're 16 years old and he's done it. And every at-bat in 2025 is still like the guy kicked you in the stomach and stole your girlfriend. He was so important and did so much good here. Like, it's always like, it'll always be like this. There's never going to be a...
That I don't know. I don't
hey,
know.
Bryce,
I don't know if that burns less bright at some point.
Thanks for 2012 and through 2018. Man. Like that,
Yeah.
That's not happening at any point.
I don't know. I don't know the answer is to
Now,
that.
I think he's a phony who doesn't love Philadelphia as much as he likes. Now, I shouldn't call him a phony. That's not nice. But he acts like a phony with his favorite food is cheesesteak. His favorite song is The Fresh Prince.
He's, whatever way the wind blows, he's
he
a wind
loves
sock.
Will Smith.
Yeah.
He only watches Rocky. Whatever.
He's a human hashtag. He's always been that way.
Dude sat in the press box wearing a Vegas Golden Knights gear.
Big Cowboys fan, Vegas fan, whatever. Come on.
So I understand if you just say he rubbed me the wrong way, whatever. But it's just crazy to me that the loudest he's ever been booed maybe at Nats Park was yesterday in 2025. Like when does that end? Maybe that's my question.
Right. So that I don't know. To me, it's not crazy yesterday because again, it's the jersey popping, chin strap beard, double earring. What did you call the guy that was sitting near us? The dude who has the haircut that they have on the board at the barber shop.
Oh God,
whatever that was. So that guy stands up and is like, "Yo, Bryce, yeah, son!" Like, so you're not only booing Bryce, but you're booing that guy because he turned into Philadelphia's favorite
kind of
son.
what I'm talking about, which is like there is this like jealousy that they have him. Then
no, it's because that guy's annoying and he's cheering for Bryce.
But
you're drowning out the boos.
Trey, the next batter.
No, because it's not the same level of animus.
Understood.
So So when Matt Harvey's down here, I don't know Matt Harvey from anybody years ago in the 7 train army, whatever those horses' asses were, came down. They start cheering. Well, the boos are louder to drown them out. You know what I mean? So like when people are doing the "Let's Go Mets" or "Let's Go Eagles" chants yesterday or "Let's Go Phillies,"
but I thought
that's when the booing happens.
It's pretty clear the booing when Bryce Harper's getting booed is for Bryce Harper being Bryce
Harper.
It
starts with Bryce Harper, then they're cheering, and then the booing goes to drown them out. So that's why yesterday was loudest.
Possible.
That doesn't surprise me.
800-636-1067. Want to hear from you guys on this. 800-636-1067. Do you think the poll of the day, 7 years, 8 years later, wherever we are now, what do you think of the booing of Bryce Harper? Keep it up? Let it go forever, never change, or we've done it. We've kind of made our point. It's getting a little tired now. And the next question would be, is there ever going to be a moment where it's not happening?